It's 6:01. I'm calling this meeting of the Plainfield Charter Township Board to order. In the absence of Supervisor Tom Coleman, can I get a motion to nominate a President Pro Tem for tonight's meeting?
I move to nominate Susan Morrow as President Pro Tem for tonight's meeting.
That's amazing.
Figure out which one.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we got a motion by Frank, and we have a second?
Yeah, I second it.
Can't say it myself.
All right, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign? No? Okay, motion carried.
Thank
Meeting
you.
is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for coming to the regular meeting of Plainfield Charter Township on March 28th at 6 o'clock at night. The roll call vote, Kathy. Everyone is present except the township supervisor. We'll have an invocation and then pledge of allegiance from our clerk, Kathy Postmas.
All right, would you bow your heads, please? Our Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you so much for our community. We thank you for the diverse people that make it up and all their talents and gifts, Lord, and we thank you for what you have blessed us with. We pray that you will give us wisdom tonight as we hear the matters before us. Help us to comprehend clearly what we're hearing and to make wise decisions, Lord. And we also pray for the people of Ukraine, Lord, that you would watch over them and, Lord, that you would help them through the horrors that they're experiencing right now, Lord. We ask this in your precious name. Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chair doesn't roll. The next thing on the agenda is public comments. These are comments that do not necessarily relate to the subjects that are going to be on the agenda later on. They can relate to anything that you want to share, but if you want to speak about a specific subject that's on the agenda, we ask you to wait till that time. The speaking limit is 3 minutes. And if you don't care to speak, we have some cards over at the table where you can write your notes out and just give it to us later and we will take care of it. The public comments are not a conversation. They're your chance to make a statement, but you won't get a response tonight. Is there anyone who has any public comments to make at this time? Let's hear your name and your address, please.
Sure, my name is Joelle Rona, and our business address is 5205 West River Drive. I'm here tonight representing the Pack Dog Park. I'm not speaking on behalf of one of the agenda items, I'm just speaking on behalf of us. As a small business, we came to the township a little over a year ago in a request for a liquor license. We were granted that liquor license. We're super appreciative. And so I really just was so happy to have the time to just come tonight really quick and just say thank you all very much. How much it has helped us as a small business here in the township. We appreciate some of the faces that we've seen coming into our business. What the liquor license has done for us as a small business, it's given us the opportunity to have some really great events in the community. We've done some adoption events for dogs and things like that, which that's all just like dog related. But we've also had comedy nights. We've had paint your pet's portrait with a local artist. We've had lots of really fun events that are more in the evening and wouldn't have had the attendance had we not been able to serve a glass of wine or a drink or whatever. So the liquor license has really been helpful with that. I just also wanted to mention how we do have people coming to the business that aren't just there because we're a dog-related business, which we are, and we're a very unique business here in the township. But we have people that will come even that don't have dogs. We have a gentleman and his mom. They come every Friday night. She's in a wheelchair. It's a chance for them to get out. Really enjoys watching the dogs play. He has a beer, she has a coffee, they get something to eat, and it's just a really great experience versus just sitting in a dining room somewhere. So that's what I had to offer, and I just really appreciate you guys, and thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. Anyone else have public comments? Let's have your name and address.
Rachel McQueen, 5205 West River Drive. Yeah, I just wanted to add one more piece of that again, just reiterating the thanks. It's been an incredible year for us, and a lot of that, would not have been possible without our liquor license, just the growth that our business has seen, drawing in customers that I know we wouldn't have without it in the community that we've built. And drawing in people. I just had someone email us today that said, I'm coming from Detroit in a couple weeks and I want to make sure we're set to bring our dog before I book my hotel room. And we had someone from Indiana that comes every few months that books the hotel up the street so that his dogs can play for the weekend. Just had a couple today from Byron Center that was there. So yeah, it's just been, something that we're offering that's unique. And again, having alcohol is just a huge bonus that I know our business would look much different without that. And I just want to emphasize the importance of how beneficial it's been for us that the township is supporting a small business and a family-owned business, and that when any small business in our community is given an advantage, it benefits all of us. So yeah, that's all my piece I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Any other public comments? Thank you. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Any comments or questions on the consent agenda? A motion to approve would be in order.
I move to approve the agenda, including the consent agenda and the accounts payable.
I'll second
There's
that.
support from Mr. Brinkman. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Oops, I'm sorry, it's a roll call vote.
Hey, Mr. Pfaff,
Yes.
Mrs. Merrill,
Yes.
Mr. Hagedorn,
Yes.
Ms. Beatty,
Yes.
Mr. Brinkman,
Yes,
Ms. Postmus, yes.
Thank you. And moving on in the agenda. We have a public hearing from the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund grant application. Cameron, would you like to bring us up to speed?
Yeah, absolutely. So Bill Fisher is with us tonight, and you all know that Bill Fisher is our Community Development Director and Parks Planning Director, and so he's been working very busily lately on parks items. We've been awarded one grant. We're in a funding range. I'm careful about saying awarded until the legislature actually passes the bill that gives us the money. We can't claim we're funded, but until that time, we're in a fundable range for one grant, so it's looking promising. And so we want to keep the ball rolling and apply for another. So Bill's got some things that they've been working on in the Parks and Rec Committee, and so he's going to share that with you tonight.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you, Cameron. Is it working? Okay. So I was in front of you back in February, and I had Scott Post and Matt Lewandowski here, and we walked through potential projects that we wanted you to consider for applying for application through the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund. And so you may recall that map we had. I don't have it on the agenda here with us, but it showed a trail connection from Jupiter Trail through Grand Isle Park, through Grand Roque Park, all the way over to the west end. There was the trail system, and then there was this. This was one of the options that we were going to consider, and so it's improvements to the front of the park. But since that February 28th meeting, staff met with the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. Kathy's a member of that group, and so she got to hear some of this. The group went through and evaluated all of those projects combined. You remember, if you combined all those were like $1.2 million. Well, we don't have that money. The maximum we can get from the state is $300,000. That's the maximum we can apply and get, which we are for the phase one. that Cameron just talked about. So we had to come back with a more reasonable phasing of what we should apply for. So the group said, let's do this right. We're already going for phase one, or are going to do phase one, start of construction next year for that access drive going into the park, and then back there where the former offices, we'd be doing the parking lot there, pavilion, and kayak launch into the lake. So it made a lot of sense to continue the grand entry to the park and accessibility. So the Parks and Recreation Committee and staff, we're recommending that you support us applying for a grant for what you see outlined in red here. So that's the north end or the front end of the park. So in the upper left there is let me see if I can get the cursor working here. So this is the existing parking lot that I'm circling with the cursor. That's all gravel. So the application for this phase would include paving this service drive over here to another parking lot. Here's the Rogue River. We'd put in a kayak launch right here, universally accessible one, so folks that are handicapped can get and have access to it. And then a pavilion and a vault restroom in this area as well. We'll also be doing some important elements for the environment, which would be some shoreline restoration along Rogue River right here, some bioswales, that helps with cleaning up stormwater management. So that'd be a big part of it. And that's what gets us a lot of points. Remember, this whole grant process is competitive. We're competing with other communities for this. So all those things add up to maximize our points. And so the total for this whole project, we figure, is about $613,000. So if we take out $300,000 for the grant, we're left with $313,000 is the township's grant match. And I put in my memo for comparison, we're about, for the phase one, where we got $300,000, that's about a $604,000 project. So for that grant, you committed the township's match of $304,000. So we're right pretty in step with what we applied for before. We were thinking we were gonna have to ask you to match $350,000, $400,000, but by doing this particular phase versus the trail sections, we think we got it to a much more affordable range. So Cameron and I went to the drawing board and looked at the funding, and so if the board approves this, that $314,000, $13,700 would come out of our capital fund. And remember, this is a 2-year project, so it's spread out over a couple years. The application deadline to apply for this is Friday. We've been working our tails off getting ready. It's very manageable. We can do this. And to do that, though, we have to have the public hearing, and it has to be a separate agenda item from consideration. That's why you see public hearing on the agenda, and you have the consideration of a resolution on new business. So at this point, we're asking you to hold a public hearing, get public comment, and if that goes well and there's no issues, we continue on to new business, and then be asking you to approve the resolution, which authorizes staff to turn in the application, and it's your commitment to that $314,000 local match. And one last note on the local match: if we do more than 50%, 51% or greater of a match, which we're doing like 51%, we maximize our points for the application. So we think we're in a nice sweet spot for what we can afford, a reasonable price here. So again, the committee and staff, we discussed this at length. Last comment I have is, again, going back to the trail sections that would go from this park all the way over to the Jupiter Trail. That's still on the radar screen, and there's some other funding opportunities that we're looking at right now. So that would be a subsequent phase to this. But this particular one would help us complete a good chunk of the grand entry and doing it right, as the committee said.
Thank you, Bill. Cameron?
Thank you, Bill, for that too. And just to add on to Bill's comment about the money and the timing, so just so it's clear to everyone, because I've had this question, where do we get our share? That's something that would come out of our capital improvement project, but we have enough years to plan for this because, as Bill was talking about, now that we're in the funding range for the current one, the odds of that starting, do you think that first one maybe even yet this year, or are we talking about next year for the first phase?
Spring of 2023.
Okay, so we're talking next year's budget just for the one we've already done. For this one, we wouldn't even be hearing if we got the grant until probably about a year from now, maybe December at the earliest. So really, we're looking not even at a 2023 for this, we're looking at 2024 or even beyond for.
Yeah, probably 2025 construction.
So when we talk about how do we pay for our share, we've got plenty of time to set up the capital improvement budget on our end for that.
Good. Thank you both for your comments. We'll open the public hearing. And is there anyone in the audience who would like to make some comments on this application for the grant? Please come to the microphone and state your concerns. No one's coming to the microphone, so we'll close the public hearing and move on to the new business of Plainfield Township. And this is to consider the resolution. Comments on the resolution, Cameron?
I didn't have any further comments, we're here to answer any other questions you may have on this.
Are there any questions from the audience on the resolution? Board members' comments on the resolution? Raise your hand to be recognized. Jack?
I appreciate all the work that you've done, Bill, on this and the long-term planning as well. As an aside, I might want to, I wonder if we couldn't have a short time at a given board meeting to look at the capital fund again and projections for the next 5 years or so. Good. That's all I have.
Any other board members have comments? A motion would be in order.
I move to approve the resolution to apply for a grant from the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund as proposed.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pfaff and support by Ms. Beatty. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Brinkman,
Yes.
Mr. Hagedorn,
Yes?
Mr. Pfaff,
Yes.
Ms. Beatty,
Yes.
Mrs. Merrill,
Yes.
Ms. Postma, yes.
Motion carries. Moving on to the next subject. This is to consider an application for a liquor license for Battle GR LLC. Would you like to make a presentation? Introduce yourself, please, and give us your name and address.
My name is Jenny Lashway, and my business address is 284 Dodge Northeast, Suite 100. So we're Battle GR. We're a sports and entertainment facility. We've been in business for almost 5 years. We're family-owned. You can see our 2 boys right there. We employ right around 18 right now. We're looking at adding 8 to 10 more employees for summer help and hoping that half of those carry over into the fall. Once we have our liquor license, we would be adding another 8 to 10 employees as well. We have some that are full-time and some that are part-time. The reason we're here is because we have lost over $100,000 in corporate events due to not having a liquor license. We have a lot of, last week we had a $5,000 event that went other places because they had the option to add that. We're always listening to our clients and we're always listening to the community needs. We last week or the week before, Rockford schools canceled last minute and we were able to pivot and open the doors so that parents who were working had a place to drop their kids off so that they could still go to work. Our team building events where we would be doing our liquor or using our liquor license is they come to us for the activities and the fun, and then we serve them. We make our own pizza, but then we also have hors d'oeuvres and things like that that they can enjoy while they're having a drink or two at the end of their team building. We also do a lot of different types of parties. We've been asked to have wrestling at our place. We've been asked to have a comedian come in, that kind of thing, of which where they're wanting to have a liquor license or a place that has a liquor license. We're a very unique place. If you've ever been to us, we mix sports and entertainment. We're the only one in Michigan that has this unique mix, as well as we're the only really multi-activity facility in the north part of Grand Rapids. We plan to expand beyond the greater Grand Rapids area in the future, and we actually would love to expand in our current location, adding on more and taking up more of the building. We share the building right now with 2 men in a truck. We're a key part of the community. We draw a very unique clientele because of our specialty services and because we listen to them and customize what they are looking for. We have adult leagues. We host adult-only nights. We're not a bar and restaurant where people go to get intoxicated. We actually, this past weekend, kicked a whole group of adults out because they came to us on a party bus that they had already been drinking, and they wanted to do axe throwing, and we kicked them out. We would comply with all the MC or MLCC requirements, and how we would monitor everything is when they come in, they have to purchase a ticket and they get a wristband if you come to our facility. So we would have silver wristbands that they would get once we checked their ID and knew that they were over 21. And then we would stamp it or mark it for each drink that they would have. They would only be limited to 1 or 2 drinks an hour anyway. In majority of our facility, they can't go into laser tag and have a drink. They can only consume it in our party rooms and along our courts and in axe throwing.
The only thing that I really have to add is you've already accepted us to manufacture beer, wine, and hard cider. We really have no interest in opening up a new brewery. We don't want to take on the responsibility of manufacturing it. We really just would prefer to, have someone else manufacture and us just to be able to use the amazing products that are already out there. And we just want to, have the fun. So, that's the only thing is we just are not interested in manufacturing it ourselves. I think that's a huge liability that we're not really wanting to take on in our facility right now. So.
Thank you. Cameron?
Thank you for coming in and presenting that. And as they refer to manufacturing, alcohol on site, that shows to the extent they've tried to explore every avenue of doing this. And they finally come to the conclusion, and I completely agree that this is the best approach for their business, but also for the community. We heard earlier from another business that is not a traditional bar or restaurant that has used a liquor license in a very creative way, and this is another example as well. From my perspective, this is the way where Michigan's licensing laws are not keeping up with industries. They still license as if licenses are only going to traditional bars and restaurants, and that's just not how these licenses are being used these days. So we heard earlier how it can be a real innovator for local businesses, especially small and family-owned businesses, to expand. It's not the primary use, it's a secondary use that supports the primary use. We heard that from the PAC, and this is another example as well. So one thing they didn't really hammer as much as we heard from the PAC is what a regional draw this business is. Their position right off of West River and 131 makes it really convenient to reach all parts of West Michigan. That's why there's a minor league baseball park across the street. That's why there's AJ's. It's a good location, and it's really a growing cluster of these types of family-oriented businesses that are entertainment-style businesses. And now the PAC is another one that is a very different kind of business. So we have a growing cluster there on West River near 131, and it really does draw in businesses and customers from other areas. And those customers come in, they see the area, maybe they come back and shop at a different store. So it really does benefit other businesses as well. So a lot of potential for growth for our local economy from this as well.
You have a lot of people that come over from the hotel and work with, we work with AJ's quite closely too.
Did I ask for comments from the public? Yes. All right. Board members' comments. Bill?
Curious question. What kind of sport is this axe throwing contest? Do you have to stand up in the front to see how to work it, or what?
I just wear the apple. No.
Oh, okay. Well, that used to be William Tell, that's for sure.
No, so our axe throwing is, well, the sports that we really talk about are, we have two like basketball courts. So they're multi-use functions. We play basketball, volleyball, futsal, it's a form of indoor soccer. Right now we have field hockey,
Yeah, we have,
indoor field hockey. So like they, have to bring boards in and everything like that. I mean, they get used for a wide range of different things. The axe throwing is aside from that, and they're completely closed off. It's one person in the lane at a time. It's not just completely free throwing where you can, throw the axe anywhere. You're throwing down one lane. You've got a barrier all the way down on the side. You're the only one in there. There's an outside barrier that everyone is on the outside of. And then we have multiple different games that we play. We use a projector, so it's just like this that you're throwing at. And then there's different games on it. So, I mean, that's really what we do, is a little bit more thought-provoking and objective-based, even with our laser tag. We have 30 to 40 different games that we play. With axe throwing, there's different things. It's not just a painted-on target that you're throwing at. We have a duck hunter game, so if you hit a duck, it shows the duck exploding, and you get a point, and you don't want to hit the rubber ducky, so that takes points away. We had a Valentine's Day game that you're trying to hit the little cupids, and they're different points. So there's just other things that I think help keep adults entertained for a longer period of time, and it's just not redundant and mundane. So
we're the only ones in West Michigan that does axe throwing safely with the projector, no bounce back borders in the end grain of the wood. And we're the only ones really, until you get to Okemos, that does tactical laser tag, which is more like all of our games have an objective and a strategy to it. So we run programs about communication, leadership, teamwork, adaptation, and awareness to what's going on around them. So we're a very unique business.
Sounds interesting.
Kathy, any comments?
Just a thank you, Jenny. I dropped in and you gave me a marvelous tour, and it was a lot to take in for one trip, because it is not just a simple matter of a game or something. There's complexity and layers and objectives and all that. So really enjoyed it, and look forward to seeing your business grow, and Two Men in a Truck can find another location and you can take over the building.
Sounds good to me.
Kathy?
I've been there. It's a fabulous facility. Have worked with Jenny on some events before, and I think it's a great opportunity for you guys and to grow. And I love having unique businesses like this in Plainfield Township, where we can say that we have something that no one else has. So I'm glad you guys are here and look forward to seeing you grow.
Frank?
No, I appreciate the business being here as well. So is it virtual axe throwing or is it actual axe throwing?
it's actual axe throwing. It's a
Well,
real
my wife and I have done it, and we loved it. It was a lot of fun. She only hit me a couple times, but any date you can walk away from is a good one. So, but we really, it's just different. So you enjoy it, and it sounds like you have a lot of different, things to pick from to keep people's brains working. So, thanks.
Jack?
I wondered, you mentioned in your material a silver bracelet. What does your rate structure look like?
Our rate structure, you
Yeah.
said?
So I come in there and I want to do something.
Yeah.
Explain
it's-
to me what I would pay for whatever, and what would I get for
Yeah,
that?
yep. So we do different colored wristbands based on the hour, and if you bought a 2-hour pass or a 1-hour pass, it's $25 for 1 hour and $40 for 2. And then we put you into whatever activity slot you want to do. Honestly, 90% of our business, people book ahead of time. So we have very little, it flows really well when people book ahead of time, if you will. And we have all your wristbands already set out for the day. So you'd walk into our facility, we'd greet you, find out if you had a waiver filled out already or not. and then you would pay, we'd give you a colored wristband based on what hour it is, what you're doing, and then if you wanted to drink, you would have a second wristband. Those are silver. And then we normally would write the time that you got there on that wristband, so that if somebody wanted, like as we're monitoring, we could look and see what time they actually got there and then how many they actually had to drink.
Thanks a lot, appreciate that.
I happened to meet Jenny a couple years ago in a much more quiet, quiet setting at a restaurant to have lunch. But as soon as I found out about her business, I was just absolutely fascinated with all the things. But beyond the business, Jenny, are you the host for everything for Northeast Business Association? Is that where all their meetings are held now?
Yeah, yep. All of their meetings are at our location. We also have another BNI group that meets at our location as well. And we host a lot of business meetings. Like, people are looking for space that they can go to that's quiet, and they do a meeting, they have lunch with us, and then they do activities a lot of times.
Well, I thought it was interesting on the flyer for the invitation for the Northeast Business Association, it said Battle GR Party Room. And I thought that was a good way to get business people to come to your meetings.
Yeah.
Very, very good. Also, as we walked around that day in your location, I heard a man say, "Do you do leagues?" And was he talking about soccer or lacrosse or something? And he was actually, I thought, indicating that he had asked you for the fee, and your fee was less than where they were. And I had a feeling that they were going to be checking into making a change. Do you run leagues of a variety of programs? It's not just a fun party for one night.
Yeah, exactly. So our sport courts we rent out. So like SCORE is a big soccer club. They rent out a lot of time in the winter to practice. And then we run adult leagues on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday for volleyball. So adult volleyball later in the evening. We do like axe throwing leagues for adults. Yeah, we
Well,
do
but
a lot
then
of different
we're
stuff.
partnering with another organization that runs the leagues.
Yeah.
So the best damn sport and social club runs the leagues. We're the facility. So I mean, we just partner with, people that need spaces. So for them, they were renting spaces out all over the place. One week they might play at MSA in 28th Street. The next week they might be up in Cedar Rock, I believe they were even doing things at. So it was kind of all over the place. And so we just gave them the opportunity to be able to be in one location so that every week they were going to the same place.
Well, the last thing that I wanted you to comment on are your summer camps, or
Yeah.
what you call them.
Yep, well, we call them day camps. So when school's out, we normally run a day camp. We keep the kids running crazy, so they're tired when their parents pick them up. But it's a
If that
great,
were only true.
it's a great alternative to sending them to like a daycare center. We keep them really active. We do laser tag. And our goal is to teach them something during that day. So like laser tag, we make them think of their own game in a small group. So we're trying to teach them how do you work in a group? How do you critically think through, how am I going to create this game and be creative about it? But then on the flip side, what if it doesn't work out the way that I thought it would? What would I tweak to make it better? So a lot of what we do, like we have a week of STEM, we have laser tag, we do esports as well, which is PC gaming, and we have a video game theater. We're not just telling them to go game, we're going to teach them how to strategically game so that that can be a stream of income, or they can get a really big college scholarship. So our goal is to feed into the community, what the community needs. We do bring a lot of people outside of Grand Rapids. Like we have a lot of people who come down from Big Rapids and things like that and come to our facility. But our goal is to mentor and feed back into the community so that anybody who comes into our facility will be a better, productive member of society.
Well, thank you very much for all your comments. I believe if all the questions have been answered by board members, then a motion would be in order.
I move to approve the application from Battle GR for a liquor license as presented.
Support.
Support from Mr. Pfaff. And this is a roll call vote.
Ms. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. Brinkman?
Yes.
Mr. Hagedorn?
Yes.
Mr. Pfaff?
Yes.
Mrs. Merrill?
Yes.
And Ms. Postma, yes.
Well, congratulations. We will look forward to all sorts of exciting things. And if, I'm sure Jenny and Joe would both say that if you haven't had a chance to go check their place, give them a call, because it's crazy. And give them a call and let them know you're on your way, but they would walk you around and show things. And I think, to me, one of the really unique things is where it's located. You're driving up the road and you're just sure you're in an industrial park. And there is Battle GR. So congratulations. We'll look forward to, you can come back in a year and tell us your success story like the PAC did, okay? Good. Thank you. Superintendent's comments?
Okay, thank you. A couple things to share with you tonight. First, if you're watching world events right now, you're aware of things going on the other side of the world and also threats of cybersecurity, right? And I know that's been brought to my attention by certain board members. It is something that is always something that we're looking at. So most cyber criminals don't announce their intent to do something. Usually they just do it. So you always have to keep your guard up. So that's something that we've reviewed over time. We hire an IT firm to set up our security, to check our security, to constantly monitor that. But we hired another firm to check their work. We did kind of an audit, if you will. And so when we did the audit, our IT firm passed with flying colors. What didn't pass with flying colors was necessarily the human factor, our staff. And so that's really the biggest vulnerability really for any organization. You talk to anyone that's in cybersecurity and they'll say it's not cracking the firewalls and getting past, all the software protections. It's tricking someone. And just a case in point, I've gotten emails that say they're from Tom Coleman. Hey, I'm going to this event. I need some gift cards. Can you get that for me today? It's not from Tom Coleman. Tom Coleman would never ask me for that. I know that. It's from a spoofed email that says it's from Tom Coleman. And I'm not the only one. Warren, our finance director, gets them all the time. So they're very specific. They're very targeted. They're crafty. And they're trying to trick the human factor. They're hoping that you are moving quickly and didn't check, or you have your defenses down for some reason. They just plain fooled you for some reason. That's the biggest vulnerability when it comes to cybersecurity. So, go ahead, Frank.
95% of the contacts I get from my business are scams. 95%, maybe even higher, but at least 95%. But I've been doing it so long, it's like, it doesn't fool me. But I can see how people that they're not getting it all the time, they can be fooled. So, you have to be really careful.
Absolutely. So that's what we're doing next, is doing more training of staff. And so because you've got township accounts, will be getting emails, and you're gonna get the training videos too, and then a little test afterward. So anyone on our system can be a vulnerability, right? The chain is only as strong as the weakest link. And so we need to make sure that everyone is following good, proper procedures and not getting tricked into clicking a link that they shouldn't click, or opening an attachment that looks suspicious. Things happen, and people who are savvy in this get tricked, but the more you know, the more you can fight it off. And so we'll be starting that in the next couple of weeks here, right after spring break, when people are starting to come back. Then we'll be rolling that out. Our IT firm will be rolling that out. Should be a fairly quick training. It's an online video that you watch, and then you follow up with an online survey or test to check how people are doing. And then when all that's done, we're going to do another little test, and you're not going to know it's coming. And so there'll be a phishing scam that will be sent out intentionally to try to see how we're doing. So we're going to check how our progress is. Bill had a question?
Almost daily, I get texting in on my phone, and I know they're scams, and I delete them every day. But from everything, I mean, tremendous. They really got to shut these guys down because they're criminals, you know. I had one come up that I knew it was a scam. I said, "Sir, I recognize that you're a scam because you tried this before. Please don't bother me." He says, "Well, I'm going to come out and rape your wife and kill you." I said, "Please, when you come on my property to do this," actual words of his, I said, "look for the big hole in your chest because that's what's going to happen to you." And he didn't ever come out.
Any other comments for Cameron's announcement here? Any
All right.
additional?
I had just two other things real
Okay.
fast. Historical committee. So, historical committee, the governance committee's kind of been talking about, you know, what's the best role for committees? And the thought had come up in the past about historical committee is really kind of serving in a role that really doesn't quite fit our committees of the township model. And really, they want to be a historical society, but they're kind of constrained by the limitations of being a committee of the township. They really aren't able to fundraise effectively. We really don't have a good model for that. And so there's a lot of ongoing conversation about looking at the historical society model again. Our thoughts are if we do that, we want to launch them successfully. So that's something that we're going to talk about a little bit more on the board level and talk about how best to handle that. I'm going to meet with some of the folks from the historical committee again this week and kind of talk through what that might look like and how we could best launch them as a historical society, how that relationship between that society and the township would look. Certain elements like the Heiser House would remain a township asset. That just makes the most practical sense. Then it has, you know, it's insured to be owned and maintained in perpetuity by the public, and it will be insured and protected. But the Historical Society could be the contracted agency to be the curators of it and to make sure that the historical plaques are done correctly and serve as the museum docents for open houses. So that type of relationship we would work out, and they have a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of big dreams. Some of those dreams I think we'll have to make sure that they're in the scope of reality, but they do have a lot of big ideas of what could happen from this. So that's something that we're working on. My last comment, next week is spring break. I will be out of the office for the week. I'm gonna take my son on a makeup trip for his 2020 DC class trip that didn't happen for some reason. There was something going on in 2020 that we couldn't get out of town. Yeah. The traffic was, actually, traffic was probably really great back then, but, so we sat here, I recall sitting in late March of 2020 and thinking, well, you know, his April spring break, or spring DC trip is still gonna happen, right? We're just gonna shut down for a few weeks and life will return to normal, right? So much we've learned in the last 2 years, so. So I'm gonna take him and a couple of friends for a makeup trip, so. I'll be out next week. You can always reach me on my cell phone if you need something. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other board members' comments? Bill?
Yes, we're getting to the season, which we always like, right, coming up to Memorial Day. You know, we're going to be, this year, we're going to have it in person. I've already talked with Tom Coleman and Cameron, and we're going to shoot for that. So be prepared to participate, folks. I will be getting the agenda up next week about how we'll do it. And we'll have to get Tom and see if we can get a band in there to play for us and get the people all tuned up so they can come and sing God Bless America with us, you know. Frank loves to sing that song, you know, I know on that. But we'll get that going, and we'll keep you informed and talk more with you on it.
Thank you. Frank?
No, I just appreciate all the work the township's doing, the staff and everyone, so just very appreciative of that.
Kathy?
I'm just excited about the parks and continuing to do all the trails, and Bill's at the helm, and I love the committee. They're very involved and really care about how that development goes, and I'm excited about the liquor license because that's growth, and I had conversation with Cameron about that and how we only have the one, but with the Reimagine Plainfield, we will have more as we expand the CIA, and that will allow us to have booming businesses. So good stuff.
Jack?
I was just thinking in my mind as to the progress that Plainfield Township has made over the last, 5 years and whatever. You know, the 10-mile park and all of the things on that, including archery and BMX and this new park, which isn't even new anymore, but and all the progress we've made. And if I were moving into Western Michigan, I think Plainfield Township would be the place to move because it's got so many things to offer. So I just wanted to comment on that. I think that's great.
Thank you. Kathy?
Oh, I guess you guys have all said it very well. It's amazing to see the growth we've had in our community in the last several years, and it's exciting. So glad we keep moving forward.
My comment, even though it is a move forward, is that for many, many years, there's been almost like a garage sale at the senior center, honoring a lady who worked very, very hard. It's called Maggie's Attic, but that too is a move forward, and this week is the end of Maggie's Attic. So in an effort to reduce some of the clutter, some of the cabinets, some of the paraphernalia around different rooms at the senior center, they are doing away with some of the programs and trying to open up the floor and trying to use the 5,000 square feet that they have in that building in a little bit different way to meet some of the needs of the senior program. And so if anybody's interested, it's Wednesday and Thursday from 9:30 to 2 o'clock. And then we will close the door, and on Friday, everything that's still has anything to do with Maggie's Attic will be donated somewhere else, and it will come to an end. Any other discussion, any other comments?
Just
Bill?
one question. Sue, what's the most important event in your center, the ice cream social?
We haven't got a date yet, Bill, so we better wait. We shouldn't be announcing it yet.
Okay. Yeah.
Any other comments? We've come to the end of the published agenda, and the meeting is adjourned.